thanks very much, Caoirleach. And again, I'd like to thank our guests for
the
earlier session, very constructive. So I'll start again following on from Deputy O'Sullivan's line of question. RTE previously stated that they never made cash transactions to the barter system for presenters, and this was particularly unusual. So they outlined that primarily use was for media companies in exchange for goods and services. Can I ask Mr. Kelly, have you ever made any cash payments to bartering system?
No, and we'd no knowledge of the arrangements. We'd no part in suggesting it or setting it up. We were not consulted about it. We weren't told of any at any stage. The nature of it.
Sorry, Chair. I want to get as much information out as possible, and the TDs only have 10 minutes. Okay. So just allow them to ask the question.
Sorry,
Mr. Kelly. Why would you not do a cash transaction through a bartering system?
I'm sorry.
Why would you not make a cash transaction through a barter system?
I'd never come across a barter system before this. I didn't. This was the first.
Well, we know earlier this morning that in 2018 you used Oireachtas for a transaction through for your charity back in 2018.
No, we had not. No,
that was clarified this morning.
No. RTE took a table last year. And they put it to Oireachtas. No.
Sorry,
not at all.
We're retracting that statement.
Sorry. Okay.
So, again, as I previously examined this morning, RTE raised an invoice with your company CMS for payment by a third-party company, Oireachtas, who you didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay. That RTE had never previously dealt with, and you were under the instructions of the commercial manager, Geraldine O'Leary, not to put Ryan's name on the invoice. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. And as I said, we didn't know who Oireachtas was, and we presumed it was some company related to Renault.
Does that not sound bizarre to you? A note on the invoice sent to Geraldine O'Leary from the commercial manager clearly stated, don't put a person's name on the invoice. Did you ask that commercial manager to do that?
I can only reiterate.
Well, we seen the email that went to Geraldine O'Leary with a note that said, don't put any person's name on the invoice. Did you instruct that?
No, they sent that to us.
This was sent to Geraldine O'Leary?
No, Geraldine O'Leary sent it. Sorry, so her person sent it to us. Sorry.
Yes. Did you instruct that person to not put a name on the invoice?
No, we were just, again, acting under instructions from RTE.
Who instructed you?
Geraldine O'Leary. So, as it was...
This email didn't come from Geraldine O'Leary. It went to Geraldine O'Leary.
In it said, if it's sent back, I will sort everything out. We took comfort from this.
Sorry, Chair.
So what was done was as per RTE's request and RTE's instructions.
So it just doesn't add up why RTE went to such lengths and obviously did themselves so much damage, not only to the taxpayer but to their own reputation, to protect Mr. Tubridy's name.
But this Mr. Tubridy was doing events for Renault, not for RTE. So Renault's the sponsor. He's doing events for Renault. We were paid by Renault. We understood this money would be paid by Renault. And there's still 2 years of events owed for Renault.
Did Renault reduce its overall advertising bill with RTE to cover this separate contract?
We have no relationship with Renault, so that's an RTE Renault. I'd have no knowledge of their advertising or sponsorship, or we wouldn't be party to any of that.
So you're not aware Renault were going to divert existing advertising budgets for RTE to cover a new contract or a separate contract that you were negotiating on behalf of Ryan Tubridy?
No, completely not.
Okay, so you're completely washing your hands off the deal which you were going to be a sole beneficiary of, and so was Ryan.
This deal was constructed by RTE with Renault for Renault.
It's very difficult to accept that.
And it was a completely separate contract for services. Like Ryan, his contract is for radio, 205 shows, TV, 38 2-hour plus shows, and this is completely separate, as would be his publishing work as would be other work.
You were the sole beneficiary. You were going to get a commission fee on it. Ryan was going to get an extra top-up payment on top of his salary. So you're telling me that you were following instructions by RTE?
Yes, and this is a separate contract for services. Contract for services.
And they made you do it?
We acted under their instruction, as you can see, and that's why we've come here today, and that's why we've provided all of this documentation.
The alleged method, does suggest that you collaborated with RTE, as I said in the previous committee, to engage in the secret payment through the bartering system.
I'm not RTE.
But
I'm not RTE, that's a question for RTE.
But you were the beneficiary. You were the beneficiary of this, okay? With the intention of hiding the payment for your agent. Is that correct?
No.
Or can you provide clarification to address the accusation?
Could you just repeat it one more time?
So the intention of putting this payment through the bartering system, which normally RTE would never do cash transactions, was there an intention of hiding the payment made to your agent, Ryan Tubridy?
We were instructed by RTE that all invoices for the Renner Road show go to Oireachtas for the services as they had stated.
Okay, so during an online meeting in May 2020 between yourself, the former DG, RTE solicitor, and a colleague of yours, a verbal guarantee was given by RTE to underwrite the Renault commercial agreement. Is that correct?
Yeah, but previous to that, Breed O'Keefe had...
No.
Sorry, but previous to that, it had been agreed by RTE.
You must have been aware, Mr. Kelly, that in fact it was the taxpayers' money from RTE and not Renault's payment that was going to be supporting these invoices.
At every juncture, we expect this is Renault.
Renault were not in a position to renew the contract for the Late Late Show in 2020.
Why weren't they?
Was it not a case that...
No, Renault is still the sponsor.
Still the sponsor, but in terms of the tripartite agreement to underwrite these payments.
No, and again, anything to do with sponsorship, advertising, that's RTE and Renault. We have that's completely RTE and Renault relationship. It's nothing to do with us.
You must accept you played a pivotal role as the conduit to these under-disclosed payments. And blaming it on RTE now at the minute seems very difficult or credible for us to accept.
Okay, well, I would say to you, Deputy, that in an organisation that turns over 350...
That's not the question I asked.
Can I answer, please?
No, that's not the question.
Answer, please?
Answer the question.
Answer the question, Mr. Kelly.
I know, but...
You played a pivotal role in this.
RTE, under instruction,
through the
every
barter
time
system for a cash transaction that didn't have Mr. Tubridy's name on it.
We didn't know what a barter system was until all of this happened.
You're washing your hands of it.
Completely, it's an RTE issue. Okay. Completely.
Mr. Tubridy, some final questions just in relation to the discrepancy on what you were paid and what was published. Okay?
Yeah.
Why didn't you ask questions at the time?
Sorry, are you referring to the years 2017, 18 and 19?
Yes.
Would that be right to say? This is the reporting of my remuneration and why I didn't object to it at the time. Is that, am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
And we need to begin with the contract 2015 ran until 2020, just to be sure, to be certain. And it states clearly how much I was being paid every year of the 5-year contract for hosting the 2 shows, Late Late and the radio show. In addition to these sums, the contract states that I was to be paid a further sum of €120,000 in what has variously been called an exit fee or a loyalty bonus or what have you. And in reality, this was a fee.
So really, Mr. Tubridy, you weren't aware of what you were being paid.
In reality, this was a fee to be paid at the end of the contract, where I would make myself available at any stage during the contract to do additional optional work for RTE. Okay. Now, as it turned out, in 2020, when that contract concluded, I was not called upon to deliver any of these additional pieces of work. So although I was entitled to payment for making myself available, I waived this entitlement. Okay. I didn't issue any invoice on the basis that I didn't want to be paid for work that I did not do.
Even though, can I ask Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
€150,000 for the 2 invoices, they still haven't been...
There's still 6
still
events
sitting there.
due. Yeah, so we're contracted
And
to
where
do
is
another
that,
6.
where is that money now at the minute? Whose account is it in?
That's in total.
In Tuttle's account?
Yes.
Even though he's not the Late Late Show presenter?
Well, that's only now.
And is that money that should go back to...
Absolutely. I mean, the reality with that is that
And have you made...
there has been no contact made
started
on that issue. But what I'll say to you is that is referring to 6 outstanding appearances that were to be made for Renault. As you know, I'm not finished, if I may. So I chose to leave the Late Late Show, as I mentioned last summer, made a decision to leave the Late Late Show. The stories are conflating a little. We can get to that later. But that's still outstanding work to be done. If that work is not called upon to be done, of course, money goes back.
Are you still getting paid by RT at the minute?
Yes, I am, yeah.
And in relation to that verbal agreement in place, what are the terms?
Sorry, as a presenter of the radio programme. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I could be out of a job by Friday.
Thanks very much, Carol.